Good morning. I almost said good afternoon. It feels like it's afternoon, but good morning, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd, and you are here for the August 2017 Coffee Pot webinar, where today we are talking about a new product of our very own that we are calling eBillRescue. Without any further ado, I'm going to press a series of magic buttons and get out of here and get back to my desktop, where I am all set to talk about eBillRescue. Now, some of our clients already have this product, and they have it in a custom program that was written for them that looks just, well, actually it may look a little different than what I'm going to show you, but it functions just the way I'm going to show you, but it was written for them. So we have several people that came to us and said, I have this problem. What problem did they have? Well, they have these files that they're generating through task bill in tabs, and it's spitting out these leads or other formatted files, and those are being uploaded to the electronic platforms that many of our insurance defense clients use to collect their billing information, and then they're going through their systems. So this is how they've asked for these bills to be presented to them, and this is what we must do to get them. The problem is, and we try to alleviate as much of this as possible directly within tabs, but the problem is, even though client A and client B may both use the exact same format and the exact same sub-format, so they may use the Leads 1998B format and the standard sub-format or whatever sub-format, they still have different things that they say they want. And it's very difficult for us to produce a file sometimes that is exactly the way they want it. For instance, we might come in here and we might have to take this out for each of the lines because they want the client number here and the matter number here, even though all the other clients that use the exact same sub-format want it formatted like this. Or maybe they say, oh, we don't, and I think I'm showing you one that's already been converted because I don't see my zero here, but that's all right. They may say, oh, if there's a zero entry in here, in other words, it's 0.2 hours and it's a zero rate, whatever that is, and it comes out to zero, they don't want to see it. And they don't want to know that they're not being billed. Or maybe they say, a certain client says for this matter, or maybe for all their matters, you can't put parentheses in your descriptions, or you have to have your taxpayer, this is one of my favorites, your taxpayer ID has to have a dash and the zip code at the end. Well, then it's not a taxpayer ID, but we won't go there, okay, because we're not really complaining, we're solving the problem. Sorry, get a little heated up over this because I think if you really want to know what I think there are people that sit in rooms all day long trying to figure out new ways to make submitting bills more difficult than it was yesterday. But that's just my feeling, and we're not going to go any further with that. So what did we do? Instead of you coming in and editing this bill and taking that out and then going and taking that out and then going and taking that out, we wrote something. We used to call it the CSV trimmer because really this is kind of a CSV file. It's not comma separated if you know what CSV stands for, but that's all right. We used to call it the CSV trimmer. We now call it eBillRescue. And what eBillRescue does is it will take a whole folder of these files and do whatever is necessary for that particular client or for that particular matter or for that particular whatever. So for instance, if we know that if this is not 19638, if this field is 19638, then we have to take everything to the left of the dot and the dot out of the next field. We can write a rule in eBillRescue to make that happen. Now, right now, these rules are controlled by us because a rule may not be something that the eBillRescue program can handle yet. And so somebody may come to us and say, well, here's a new one. And we may say, oh, gosh, we don't really have the engine that these rules are executed against, can't even handle that. So let's rewrite the engine a little, and let's write the rule and put it in there. So these rules, I want to be clear, are not things that you write. They're things that we write. but they're very easy to write in the way we've implemented this. And so we give it rules, and we say, oh, for this client we do this, and for any leads 1998B we do this. We take out the 0 entries. We do whatever we need to do. And once we've built those rules, this program that I'll show you in a second can run against a whole subfolder of files, no matter which clients they're for, because it can look at one and say, oh, this is this client. And it can look at another and say, oh, this is this client. So I'm going to do this here, I'm going to do this here, I'm going to do that there. And it literally runs, it can run through 100 files in under a minute. And when you're done, that folder contains the files the way you would have had to go in one by one and correct them line by line, knowing exactly what to do because you've done it a million times before. Those days would be gone. So let's look at it. Let's actually run it real quick. It's up here on my taskbar. It's called eBillRescue. You'll have to pardon the fact that we haven't come up with a clever icon yet. But other than that, this is the program exactly the way it's written to function. The first thing it wants us to do is select a folder. I've got a folder in here called eBillRescue with 5 test subfolders. Just so you understand, if we go in here and look at this test A folder, it's just got four files in it. I can count really. 4 files, and they all need to be cleaned up. And there are actually dozens of lines that need to be changed in each one for various reasons. And so I'm going to go back to eBillRescue. I'm going to say I'm going to run this against test A. I'm going to say OK, and there it goes. And it is done. 4 files, about 2 seconds. What it's telling you here is that these 4 files are all completed. None of them had errors, and these are the lines that were changed. It also gives us all sorts of information about that we can then use if we have a problem with one of the rules not working. But what you care about is that these boxes are checked, that these boxes are not. And if you're curious, you'd look at this and say, look at all the time I saved just now. Because you would have had to change 27 lines in this file, 17 in this file, 2 here, and 4 here. And it was all done. So let's go look at that. Let's go back and look at this. Now test A. These files, called locked files, okay? These files normally wouldn't stay here. They'd go into a subfolder, a backup folder. Why do we keep the original file? In case the power goes out in the middle. We don't want to lose the original file. Or in case something weird happens. Again, we don't want to lose the original file. So what you will end up with in this folder, whatever folder you're in, is these files that don't have this locked extension. And the others actually end up in a backup folder, and they don't have these funny names. They just say testfile1.txt, but they're in a backup folder. And so the backup folder contains the originals, and the other folder contains, the folder you started in contains all the converted files. Now, again, I said this can be run on hundreds of files in about a minute, probably less, depending on the speed of your machine and how big the files are, of course, but it's very, very quick. And it could conceivably be run over and over and over again on the same folder with new files having been added without it affecting the old files because there's nothing left to change in them. So some of our clients will take their task build files that they're creating in task build and put them in like a temporary holding folder, run this against them, and then copy the resultant files over to where they're storing them for archival purposes and for uploading later. Other clients will simply print their bills to the same Zurich, the same State Farm, the same whatever folders they've always printed them to or processed them to. And then they'll just run this against that folder knowing that only the new files will really change because everything else has already changed. Okay, so that's neither here nor there, but you would end up with a folder that looks identical to the one you just had. The date modified would be changed to indicate that we've changed it recently. Now I've kind of taken 2 files and put them right here so we can see them side by side. So this file here on the bottom, let me get my cursor here. This file is the original, and this file is the converted file, and this file here is the original. Now let me move my GoToWebinar control panel over here and scoot up just a hair so that we can look at a couple of these things. So obviously you don't go through and look at these after they're done. Once we're certain they're working, you run it and you submit them. But let's analyze. So here's the original file. And we had the client number and the matter number separated. And in the new file, we've taken the client number, added it to the beginning of the matter number with a dot. That's the way this particular client must want it, okay? And how does it know what client? That's part of the rules we built. We say, look for field 3, column 3 to equal 19638. And if you find that, take that field and put it in the beginning of this field with a dot. That's an example of a rule. It's a little more plain English than the rule looks in theory, but that's an example. We can run it against Leads 1998B, we can run it against other formats, and we can make sure that we're not changing the wrong format, but because we check for that too. Another thing you'll notice here is that in this original file, we had our second line was one that had a $0 value. And I don't know why insurance companies don't want to know you're giving them something for free, but they don't. At least some of them don't. And so you'll notice down here that we have removed that line, okay? If we were to scroll over to the right, which we can't because this is just some screenshots, we'd also notice that the taxpayer ID had a dash and the client's zip code, the law firm's zip code appended. I don't know why that's sometimes quite common for insurance companies to want to alter the tax ID that way, but we see that quite a bit. So bottom line, we have a product that can load up on your machine, and when you buy this from us, you can put it on as many machines as you want in your billing department. We don't really care. You're not buying it for a single machine. You're not buying it and paying a separate price for each machine. We don't really care. The package currently is priced at $795. That does include at most an hour's worth of installation time. So if you come to us and say, I got to put this on 2 machines and we have to set up ODBC on each machine and we have to install it, that hour is going to cover that time unless we run into problems with your ODBC or your configuration, or you say we want this on 20 different machines, which is probably unlikely, but that's something we have to take into account. You do need the ODBC drivers from Software Technology. If you are Platinum SQL, you've got them. Don't worry about it. They're there. You may not know where they are, but they're there. If you're Platinum or multi-user or single user, you do need to spend the $99 plus whatever the shipping charge is that SGI will charge, and you order the ODBC drivers. We can order those for you, but that would be an additional cost if you need them. If you're not Platinum SQL or and don't already have them, or if you're Platinum SQL, that's not an issue. It will come with up to a dozen customizations built in, a dozen rules. Now, I think the handful of firms, it's less than a half a dozen, the handful of firms that are using this already, I don't know that we have any that are using this already that have more than a dozen customizations, but I'm thinking of at least one that may. So if you have a lot of different things that you're changing, well, we would simply charge you an hourly rate to add the additional customizations, the additional rules. So it's available for $795. You do need to have the ODBC drivers. That will include up to an hour's worth of install time. If it's more, we'll charge by the hour. And it will include up to 12 rules. And if it's more, we're, again, simply charging by the hour to build those rules. What's cool about that is that if you come to us with rules and it's in your first 12, and we, for some reason, need to add coding, we need to change the base program to accommodate this new type of rule that we've never encountered before, and therefore can't just be built into the rule set, well, you're not paying for that. And what's even cooler is that if you come to us after you've gotten your 12 and you are then presenting us with something that's new and does require a little bit of a change to the program as well as building the rule, we're not charging you for the change to the program, ever, okay? So if the program can't already accommodate some bizarre rule that we now have to kind of change the coding and then build the rule, we're only going to charge you for building the rule if it's one of those that's over the 12. And I should point out that that 12 is within the first month. In other words, if you come to us and you, at the time you've got 6 rules that need to be built, we'll build those rules right away. And then if a year and a half later you come back with 2 more rules, even though they're within the first 12, they're also outside the scope of that first month. There is a time period there. So that's really it. It's I don't know. I always say it's not that exciting. It's exciting to me. It's exciting to the people that are in the billing department that day to day are dealing with these mundane changes that need to be made line by line, file by file for these eBill files occasionally, or sometimes quite frequently. But in theory, it's not that exciting. It's a program that you buy, we build some rules, you run it, and it saves a lot of time. So with that said, I'm going to take you out here and show you that if you go to attorneycomputersystems.com, and I'm going to emphasize once again that it is Attorney Computer Systems, meaning that it's got to have that last S on the word systems. You can either click on the word videos or hover over it. If you click on it, you get taken to a separate page, and you will see these 6 different types of videos that we have on our website. We have our 4 live events. You're currently at a live event, the Coffee Pot webinars. That's once a month where we talk about neat things that can be added on to Tabs3 and Practice Master to help make your life easier. We also have our live virtual user group meetings. These are typically the last Monday of the month. This month they happen to be on a Tuesday. Don't ask why, but they do. So I think it's the first time we've ever had them on a Tuesday, at least since we switched to having them on Mondays. And so we have virtual user groups for each of the 3 products that we mainly work with, Practice Master, Tabs, and World Docs. We also have some pre-recorded video titles. Mary Jo has her eBites video series that are not live, but she films 3 of these each month, 1 on Tabs, 1 on Practice Master, 1 on World Docs. These are just short little 2, 3, 4-minute videos with something really cool that we can explain very quickly that we want people to know about. And then we have our longer format Paul and Mary Jo show, where I or Mary Jo will take a broader topic and dig deeper into it, sometimes spending 10, 15, sometimes even 20 minutes going very deeply into a particular item. The Coffee Pot webinars, if you click any of these and go to more info, what you will find is a description of what that video and series of videos is all about, information on the next one, 2 separate links that really take you to the same registration. People sometimes say, well, which link should I use? They're identical. They may not look identical, but they are. And then a description of what's going on. So next month we're talking about dashboards, our next new product, which is our dashboard metric product that can put really cool graphically oriented metric information, like how many hours did everybody bill last month, and what clients was it for, and things like that, right up into a web-based dashboard that anybody can see from anywhere. That's what we're talking about next month. But then as you scroll down, you will find the recorded versions of these live events. Now this one's not up there yet because you're currently listening to it and we're currently taping it. So this will be up in a matter of usually about a week. And as we scroll down further, we have more Coffee Pot webinars, and most of this content goes back years and years. Now Patty is waiting, hovering with her finger hovering over the mute button on her phone because she has a question from somebody. Patty.
Paul, Jody would like to know if you can have PDF files saved in the same folder as the text files when you run the trimmer.
Yes, you can. It's only going to affect the text files. It's going to skip right over anything that it doesn't recognize. It's also doing a check on the very first line to make sure that it's a text file that it should be messing with. So if it doesn't find Leeds 1998 Prens B, I think it's Prens B, whatever it is, Leeds 1998B, or whatever it's looking for to change whatever it's been told to change, it'll just leave the file alone. So if it's a text file and it doesn't start with the appropriate header information to let us know that it's one of these eBill files, or if it's any other type of file, it'll just be skipped. Okay. So back to the videos, you can also search these, you can scroll through them. Please do go to sleep at some point. I've had people call me and the day after they've actually stayed up till like 4 a.m. watching these, which just blows my mind because I wouldn't stay up till 4 a.m. watching these, but apparently some people would. So that's it. Do take advantage of these. They're there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, all sorts of valuable information in there. If you do run into any more questions, I'm kind of confident that right now, as I'm talking, there is probably my email address, and we'll give you the simple one. It's paul@paulpurdue.com. Purdue is spelled like the school, not the chicken. You'll never forget that. P-U-R-D-U-E as opposed to P-E-R. So it's paul@paulpurdue.com. Any more questions about this or anything at all, just email me and we will get those questions answered. Thanks much, everybody. Have a good day and a good rest of the month, and we will see you next month. Bye-bye.